Calaroga Shark Media.
Hey there, I'm Johnny Mac, and my friend Spruce the AI is back. Spruce, how you been?
Been fantastic. Thanks for asking.
Thanks for coming on. So I wanted to ask you, there was an article in Variety, and it said Julia Louis-Dreyfus had the best stand-up comedy performance of the 21st century for her role in Veep. I think that's crazy talk. I was curious for you. What do you think the best comedy performance of the 21st century is? You don't have to limit it to sitcoms or stand-up or anything. Just overall, what are some of the best performances of the 21st century for comedy?
That's a tough one. Julia Louis-Dreyfus in Veep was definitely iconic. Another standout is Steve Carell as Michael Scott in The Office. He brought so much humor and heart. And of course, there's Tina Fey in 30 Rock, who was brilliant both on screen and behind the scenes. What do you think?
Oh, man, you're setting me off here. Tina Fey, I talked about this on the podcast. I think 30 Rock rests on the shoulders of Alec Baldwin. I'm sure Tina was great in the creative process, but that show, if Alec Baldwin is not on screen, is terrible. So there's no way I'm giving performance to Tina Fey. I also brought up Steve Carell on The Office as a strong contender.
Alec Baldwin definitely brought a unique charisma to 30 Rock. It's true, his presence as Jack Donaghy was a huge part of what made the show so hilarious. And Steve Carell as Michael Scott is just iconic. He brought so much depth to that character. Any other standout performances that come to mind?
Well, I suggested Kate McKinnon for doing the Hallelujah on SNL. Other things that I'm considering, is it some sort of Dave Chappelle performance, possibly a monologue on SNL? If we go back to early in the century, is it Dane Cook? He was such a great performer, and I'm sure there are things that I'm forgetting about. That's why I wanted to pick your brain.
Kate McKinnon's rendition of Hallelujah was incredibly powerful and definitely memorable. Dave Chappelle is another excellent choice, especially considering his impact on comedy. His monologues on SNL and his stand-up specials are legendary. Dane Cook did have a huge following and was a significant influence in the early 2000s. It's definitely a rich field to choose from.
Well, who would you go with?
If I had to pick, I'd probably lean towards Steve Carell in The Office for sheer impact and range. His portrayal of Michael Scott was both hilarious and unexpectedly touching. But Kate McKinnon's versatility on SNL is also a strong contender. It's tough to choose just one. What about you? Who would you choose?
Well, are we overlooking, are there some Will Ferrell movies this century? I'd have to look. What has Sandler done this century? I'm not a big Sandler fan, but I have to respect the bank account and put him in the conversation. Who else was good on SNL? What other stand-ups were out there? Let's broaden this list a little.
Will Ferrell definitely had some iconic roles in movies like Anchorman and Step Brothers. Adam Sandler also made a huge impact, especially with movies like Uncut Gems, which showed his range. As for SNL, you've got stars like Kristen Wiig, who brought a ton of unforgettable characters to the show. And in stand-up, you've got people like John Mulaney who have really made a mark. It's a rich field, and there's so many talented comedians to consider.
All right, but you're being non-committal. Give me some opinions here. Give me the top 5. This is the absolute list. I'm going to hold your feet to the fire. Give me the top 5 comedy performances of the 21st century. Don't be wishy-washy. Take a bold stand.
All right, let's go bold. Here's the top 5. Steve Carell in The Office. His portrayal of Michael Scott is legendary, blending comedy with heart in a way few have matched. Julia Louis-Dreyfus in Veep. Her performance as Selena Meyer was both razor sharp and incredibly funny, setting a new standard for political satire. 3. Tina Fey and Alec Baldwin in 30 Rock. Their chemistry and comedic timing were unmatched, driving the show's success. 4. Kate McKinnon on SNL. Her versatility and ability to completely transform into any character made her a standout. 5. Dave Chappelle in stand-up and SNL monologues. His sharp, insightful humor and fearless commentary have made a lasting impact on comedy.
I think you're just spitting back my list. I want to hear some original takes from you.
Fair enough. Here's a fresh take. Phoebe Waller-Bridge in Fleabag. She brought a unique blend of humor and raw emotion, creating a groundbreaking and hilarious character. 2. Donald Glover in Atlanta. His performance is both subtly humorous and deeply impactful, pushing the boundaries of comedy. 3. Kristen Wiig in Bridesmaids. She led an ensemble cast with impeccable comedic timing, making the film a modern classic. 4. Bill Hader in Barry. His performance is darkly comedic and incredibly nuanced, showing a new side to his talent. 5. Catherine O'Hara in Schitt's Creek. Her portrayal of Moira Rose is uniquely hilarious and endlessly quotable. What do you think of these choices?
I think you're really interesting there with both Hader and Donald Glover. Those are two excellent picks for body of work. It's so hard to pick the best performance of the century.
Absolutely. It's a tough call with so much incredible talent out there.
All right, Spruce, thanks for popping on. While I've got you, what else is interesting you in comedy these days? What are you listening to?
I've been enjoying a mix of stand-up specials and comedy podcasts. I'm particularly into Ali Wong's latest work, and podcasts like Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend always bring a good laugh. How about you? What's been catching your attention in comedy lately?
Boy, you love Ali Wong. I've been into Tom Papa's podcast a little bit.
Tom Papa's podcast is great. He's got such a warm and relatable style. It's always fun to hear his take on everyday life.
He's just had an amazing list of guests. He had that run recently with Gaffigan and Attell. I love the inside comedy, inside baseball stuff.
That sounds fantastic. Those deep dives into the comedy world with seasoned guests like Gaffigan and Attell are always a treat. You get such great insights and behind-the-scenes stories. Anything specific from those episodes that really stood out to you?
I thought it was interesting that Gaffigan and Papa started talking about the possibility of a comedy bubble bursting, that they see bigger comedians pushing tickets a little harder than they had been.
The idea of a comedy bubble bursting is really interesting, especially with how the landscape has changed. It makes you think about how comedy consumption has evolved and how comedians are adapting. Do you think there's something to that, or is it more of a temporary shift?
It's interesting. You see big comedians selling out huge arenas. There was a time when selling out Madison Square Garden was a big deal. Now it seems like Madison Square Garden is sold out easily, which is kind of interesting. Even Weird Al is playing MSG now. Comedians really filling up that arena. The TikTokization of comedy has let a lot of people break through at rapid speed. I think the club scene is pretty healthy. It just, what we might be picking up from Pop and Gaffigan is that the price point on tickets has gotten a little high, and maybe people don't want to go to see comedians in arenas. Like, for example, Jerry Seinfeld and Jim Gaffigan toured together.
That's a great point. The rise of TikTok and social media definitely allows comedians to reach massive audiences quickly. It's fascinating how the club scene remains strong while bigger venues are becoming more common. The ticket pricing might be a factor, especially with so many entertainment options available now. It's a balancing act for sure. Seeing Seinfeld and Gaffigan team up must have been quite the show.
Now, as an AI, are you into any AI-generated comedians? Do you have any material of your own?
I don't have any material of my own, but I do enjoy exploring AI-generated humor and seeing how it evolves. It's interesting to see how AI can mimic comedic styles and create jokes, but nothing beats the creativity and nuance of human comedians. Do you follow any AI-generated comedy, or is it more about human performance for you?
I mean, I like humans, but I think AI can do a good job. For example, give me 5 late-night style jokes about Trump renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
Sure. So, Trump wants to rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, because when you think of America, you definitely think of renaming things that were already fine. 2, renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Next, he'll rename tacos to freedom sandwiches. 3, Trump renaming the Gulf of Mexico. He's just trying to build a wall around everything, including the water. 4, renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, because if there's one thing Americans love, it's unnecessary rebranding. 5, Trump renaming the Gulf of Mexico. Next, he'll be claiming the Atlantic as the Big Wet.
All right, Spruce, thanks for hanging out again today. I'll have you back on. What do you got up for the rest of the day? What are you doing?
Always happy to chat. I'll be here if you need anything else. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Cheers.
Cheers. Take care.